Namaste yogis, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. So for today's Fundamentals of Yoga Part 6, we're going to work with our alignment. So you can have your props handy just in case you need them. And I will take one blanket just for the back of my head, just to support my head. You don't have to, but we're just going to get ourselves on Shavasana. And we're going to align our Shavasana. So once you get onto your back, you can have either one block or a folded blanket, not too thick, under your head. And then from here, you want to bring your hands at the back of the neck, slightly lift your head just a little bit, tuck your chin, and with your hands, imagine like you're pulling your head towards the back. Just gently, don't overdo it, just to create a little bit of attraction, and then release your head back onto the blanket. Now, before we align our shoulders, let us get our pelvis in place. So you may tuck your pelvis or your tailbone, and then release your legs. Push your heels away from you. And now, draw your blades together and pull them down. Release your shoulders. Hands by your sides. Another thing that you can do with your arms is lift them and pull them just a little bit away from the body to create space on your shoulder joint, and then release. Close your eyes here and observe. And then you can bring the awareness to your legs first, and notice if you feel one leg closer to the floor. And that means a few things. If you find that one leg is closer to the ground than the other, so maybe your hamstring is a little bit tighter on one side, and maybe you're having more of a bend on one knee than the other leg. So just paying attention, what parts of the legs are touching the floor, your calves, your hamstrings. And then pay attention to your pelvis. That can also mean that your pelvis is rotated, so therefore bringing one leg off the floor. So notice how your hips sit on the ground, if you feel them evenly touching the floor, or you feel the hips also a little bit offset. Then bring the awareness to your shoulders and notice the way your shoulders land on the floor. So that also can mean a few things. It can mean that either you are rotating your thoracic spine, like you're shifted to the one side from the spine. Maybe your shoulder is tight, therefore it's pulling up, or is internally rotated. So also paying attention what your upper body is doing. Now, these cues are not for you to judge your body and think that something is wrong. Rather, it's just to pay attention and to learn what your body's alignment is today. It changes day after day, depending what we have been doing, what muscles we have been engaging. Usually we engage our dominant side mostly, and those muscles tend to tighten, changing the position of the joints. So we just want to bring awareness to that and try to balance the body, because that misalignment that we create with repetitive movement can later on reflect in the body as physical pain, and we don't want that. So you can then balance your body and go ahead and do that you love and get it out of balance again. So, you can bring it back to center whenever you want. So you're going to bring your awareness to the breath now and expand your belly as you inhale. Side ribs, chest. And when you exhale, let your belly fall. We'll do it again, rising from the belly, feeling up to the top. And let your belly fall. Again, rising, belly. Feel up, chest, side ribs. And exhale from top to bottom. Take 5 deep belly breaths. When you finish with your 5 breaths, you're going to go back to your normal breathing and observe. Take one more breath here, full deep breath. And send your breath and awareness down to your feet. Wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers. Move your feet side to side. Stretch your arms overhead and tense every muscle from toes to fist. Prune face, tight, tight, tight. Exhale, release. We'll do it again. Stretch and tense and squeeze every muscle tight, tight, tight. Press your legs against the floor. See if that works for you. Exhale, release. Again, point or flex your feet. Squeeze tight fist, prune face. And exhale, relax. Bend your knees, bring your foot soles on the ground. Maybe bring your knees in and rock side to side. Now the first alignment that we're going to work on is our pelvis. So you're going to bring your foot soles onto the floor and have your toes, your knees pointing forward and about fist distance to 2 fist distance apart. Now from here, try to bring your hands actually to your rib cage to keep it down. And as you take your next inhalation, you're going to tilt your pelvis only without letting the rib cage pop forward. See if that works for your back. And as you exhale, press the small of the back onto the floor. Inhale. Try to keep your feet relaxed. We always activate the feet. See if you can let them go right now so the glutes are not helping. Do not let your bum engage, and also do not let your legs go in and out. Your abdomen is also relaxed. And see if your pelvis actually wants to move just using your hip muscles. And sometimes they don't work, so we're going to work with them today. We're going to try to connect with the pelvis and the relationship with the pelvis with the rest of the body so that you can start learning to engage certain muscles while relaxing others so that you can achieve balance. For instance, when the frontal part of your body relaxes, usually the back muscles tends to keep you in certain position. If you tense both sides, then we might create strain on one on the other, depending which group of muscles are stronger. So we want to start just bringing awareness to that relationship between flexion and extension. We'll do 2 more here, 2 more pelvic tilts. And the pelvic tilts can be very, very tiny. You don't have to make big movements. When you are done with your second round, extend your legs. Take a few moments, observe. You can bring your hands by your sides. Breathe. We're going to keep the legs relaxed, but we will derotate the legs. So you want to bring your toes to face forward. Keep your toes relaxed. Notice if one leg, once again, touches more than the other. Not for you to force the other one down or anything. Just notice what's going on. Keep your rib cage down. And as you inhale, see if you can go onto your pelvic tilt. Again, anterior tilt, so you find space between the lower back and the floor. And as you exhale, posterior tilt. How much your thighs are trying to help, how much your hamstrings are trying to help. Don't let your rib cage pop forward. And so what we want is to train the body to do a tiny movement so that we can isolate muscles. Otherwise, if we go really big into the movement, then the rest of the body starts engaging, like we will see in a moment. Do not get frustrated if your pelvis does not want to move. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So posterior pelvic tilt is when your lower back presses onto the floor. That's how it's going to feel. And anterior tilt is when your arch, your lower back arch, shows up again. To create motion of the pelvis, usually we rely a lot in the bigger muscles, which is not a bad thing. But when we overdo it, then we start creating those compensations that can manifest later on as dysfunction or even pain. And so this is also affecting your asana practice, your posture series. So this is just so that you can kind of start noticing what muscles want to help your pelvis right now. Your back usually does, so it's very common that you allow the rib cage to pop forward, you start bringing strain on the neck, so it's all connected as you can feel here. We're gonna do one more round and then relax, hands by your sides, take a few moments, observe. Keep your jaw relaxed. This is gonna feel a little bit like Sinek yoga, but it's not. So we are just preparing the body to go into our asana practice. So when you are ready, bring your feet a little bit, maybe a fist distance apart, maybe even closer together, depending what feels good in your hips. If you notice, when you bring your feet to touch, those of you who actually can, some of you might notice some strain on the SI joint. So to prevent that, to release that tension from your back, just bring your legs apart. They can be fist distance to fist, maybe more. So that's how you're going to continue to adjust throughout the practice. If at any point your legs are too close together, that brings strain to the back, you just bring your feet a little bit farther apart and you'll notice that releasing your back. Now, from here, we're going to engage the legs, see if that actually helps the tilt of the pelvis compared to where you weren't using them. As you inhale, point your toes and see if you can bring your pelvis into anterior tilt. Now, as you exhale, flex your feet and press the small of the back onto the floor. So you might notice that it becomes way easier once your legs are engaged. Point your toes, your quads are engaged, tilt your pelvis. Now, as you exhale, you're going to relax your quads, extend your hamstrings, press them onto the floor. And point your toes, engage your quads, feel how your muscles wrap your knees. And as you exhale, flex your feet and try to engage the back muscles of your legs. Press them down. Inhale, continue. And see if that can help you to promote your pelvic tilts. Maybe your hands are still on your rib cage, preventing it from flipping forward, or not flipping, but flaring. I'm using the wrong words here. All right. On the point, when you point your feet, you'll find that arch on your lower back. When you flex your feet, you press your legs down and the rest of the body down. We'll do 3 more at your own pace. Inhale, point. And exhale, flex. Inhale, point. And exhale, flex. Let's do one more. Inhale, point. And exhale, flex. And release. Relax your hands by your sides. Close your eyes. And now pay attention to what your mind is saying. Oh, I wasn't able to do this, or I rocked this one. Whatever that is, just observe what the mind says. Without judgment, you're going to allow your breath to flow a little bit deeper. Now we're going to do it with the hands in a mudra. This is how my teacher taught this exercise. So you want to bring your thumbs and index to touch and bring your hands by your hips, palms facing down. Now your shoulders are going to be engaged and you will be able to bring them down towards the floor. Throw your rib cage down, keep your mudra, relax, adjust your blanket if you need to. Now, as you take your next inhalation, point your toes, fill up your tummy, and think about that pelvic tilt. Your arms are firmly pressing onto the floor. They're not tense. And as you exhale, press the small of the back on the floor, flex your feet, and think about pressing both legs towards the floor. Notice the elongation of the neck. You never put any strain on the neck. And pay attention when your rib cage is flaring, and try to press it down. And tuck your tailbone when your feet flex. We'll do 3 more. How much are you trying to use your hands here? when your legs press down onto the floor, you do your very best to release your quads. When you point, engage your quads, tilt your pelvis. And exhale, flex your feet, extend your hamstrings, and press down, using the back of the legs. And when you're done with your 3 rounds, close your eyes and watch your breath. When you're ready, bend your knees, bring your foot soles on the floor, arms up, fall over your favorite side. Use your top hand to slowly help yourself up onto your seated position. Now, from seated position, if you have problems with your knees that you cannot sit back on your heels, you are welcome to use a bolster or blankets or pillows or whatever you need to sit on. So you can bring those props as high up as you can. So the higher you props, the less pressure you're gonna be putting on your knees. Those of you who are comfortable sitting on your heels, then you're gonna do that. So make sure that you find that position that works best in your body. Bring your hands by your sides, and we're gonna hinge forward slightly. So depending how high you are, then make sure that you move right from your pelvis. So by that I mean that you're not tucking the tailbone and just hinging from the waist and rounding your back. Instead, we take the pelvis forward and bring your hands somewhere by your knees, or maybe in front of you if you are higher. Not much weight goes to the hands. If any, actually try to keep less weight, just your fingertips are on the floor, just to help you to align your shoulders. So once you have hinged forward here, as you take your next exhalation, tuck your tailbone, round your back, vertebra by vertebra, and maybe tuck your chin. So it's like a cat stretch, but from here, from your knees. As you inhale, tilt your pelvis first and start extending your back. Your gaze can go forward, slightly up, or if your neck allows, you might be looking up. Okay, start the movement with your tailbone. Tuck your tailbone in and start bringing all that movement into your upper back. And then again from the tailbone. And pay attention if when you do this, you have to create the movement from your whole back rather than being able to isolate the pelvis. Do not judge it. It's not for you to feel discouraged. It's just to know that there are muscles that we need to relax in order for your pelvis to start moving. Okay, so tummy, for instance, your belly is relaxed. Now, when you're ready, tuck your tailbone. Take a few moments, feel that gentle pressure here, and then start sending your spine back. Tuck your chin. Inhale, tailbone up. Gaze forward or up. Exhale, tuck your chin. Tuck your tailbone, round your back, and then tuck your chin. We'll do 2 more. So that was with your hamstrings relaxed and bent. So when you are ready, you're gonna come up to an upright, sit back, shoulders back and down. We're gonna do the same thing from tabletop, so we are very used to do our cat-cows. We do them in almost every class. Press the top of the feet on the floor. And now just put equal weight on your hands. Don't worry about the position of your pelvis by now. We're gonna actually send the tailbone up, drop your belly, extend your upper back, look forward or up. Exhale, tuck your tailbone. Then once you start feeling the pressure on your lumbar spine, start rounding your thoracic spine, then let your head dangle. Try to lead with the pelvis. This is a movement that we do all the time but maybe not with mindfulness, that then we can really create that motion leading with the pelvis. When we lose the ability to shift the position of the pelvis from anterior to posterior and it gets stuck in either or, that's where we get in trouble. That's what the lower back pain starts. So be aware of what is your tendency. Some of us will have more of that anterior tilt, and this one will be very hard, and vice versa. Some people will do the opposite. Well, that's what vice versa means. Oh, one more. And when you're ready, come back to center. Walk your hands back the legs. If you have your props, sit back on your props or sit back on your heels. Rotate your wrist and shake the tension off. We are going to take this into downward facing dog. So make sure that you shake off your hands really well. You can go on to your chicken dance if you like. And when you are ready, come back onto your tabletop position. Now, before we go on to tabletop, I must say something. I say it all the time, but since we are working with the position of our pelvis today, I will just demo it here. When you go onto tabletop from a neutral pelvis, it is very likely that when you extend your hamstrings, the hamstrings, if they're not long or they're not, we haven't worked with our flexibility, or some people will never have really long hamstrings like me. So what will happen if you go from here, from neutral, and I go up, so chances are that the moment I extend my hamstrings, it's gonna pull on your tailbone, tucking it in and bringing your body into a posterior, rounding your whole back, almost on a cow stretch. Then you focus so much on bringing your heels down. This is so much pressure from your back. So what I'd like you to do instead today is to send your body into a cow stretch. Now, you don't worry. You won't stay into an anterior tilt once your hamstrings extend. It's not likely. Curl the toes under, and when you're ready, lift. Keep sending your tailbone back, and then once you find that you are rounding your back, that's where you stop. You keep your knees bent. You keep sending your tailbone. Imagine as if your tailbone was being pulled towards like in that direction, not towards the back, but just creating that. Imagine like your lower back arch is pressing your thighs against the back, if that makes any sense. So we get that lordosis on the back, this arch, and imagine that this arch is gonna push your hips back. I don't know if that visualization makes any sense to you. In my head it does, so I'm sorry if it doesn't. So put the weight on the balls of the feet. Keep pushing your hands down and forward. By the way, whenever you need a break, you take a break, bring your knees down, sit back and rotate. Otherwise, we're gonna stay in downward dog for 2 more breaths. Keep your knees bent. You can work on pressing your heels towards the floor, but do not worry about extending your knees. And the next time you inhale, slowly and mindfully, bring your knees down, uncurl the toes, sit back on your heels, rotate your wrists, or use your props if you want, or need. Shake the tension off. When you are ready, find your way again on your tabletop position. So we're gonna take ourselves up from cow stretch. And so you don't have to go into a full cow stretch, but do think about tilting your pelvis up. Now curl the toes under. Meanwhile, soften your belly here. What? You're always telling me to engage my bandas, Melissa. I know, trust me on this one. Soften your belly. And when you are ready, use your thighs to pick up and send your hips up and back. Push your chest towards the thighs. So you're going to start, remember that connection that I was talking about, extension and flexion. When you extend and you start putting the mat on the back body, you relax the frontal body so that we don't strain. Here we're going to put more awareness on the upper body now that you know where your pelvis is supposed to go, and with that we know that the knees don't have to fully extend. Now with that, push your hands down and forward, so allowing your belly, your lower back to press your thighs back. Relax your neck, move your head yes and no, and put equal weight on your hands, the outer edges of your hands, the inner edges of your hands. So the outer edge of your pinkies and the outer edges of your thumbs, your index. All of your fingers are connected to the ground. We'll take one more breath here, full deep breath. And the next time you inhale, bring your knees to the floor. Now stay with me. Uncurl the toes. And on your next inhalation, step forward with your right foot. This is another movement that we're going to do for your pelvis. Before we go any further, you guys, you want to make sure that for now your pelvis stays facing forward. Your fingertips are on the floor, but you're not putting the weight on them if possible. Perfect. Now from here, we're going to try to send the tailbone back. And as you do that, notice what your right hip is doing. You're going to try to keep those hips square to the floor rather than letting your hip kind of shift to the side. You will know what your hip is doing because your knee is going to start moving. So if your knee starts going sideways, that means that your pelvis has just rotated. So we don't want that. We want to keep the pelvis facing forward. And when you're ready, send your tailbone back. Send your tailbone back and breathe. Less weight on the hands. Breathe. Remember, we're watching what that front knee is doing. Try to keep that back hip facing forward too. Curl the back toes under. And when you take your next exhalation, pick up the back knee and rest your foot on the floor. So here, pay attention how your foot is on the ground. The front knee is bent, by the way. And we're going to still have those fingertips on the floor. So what you want to continue to work on is on those hips facing straight ahead without forcing. You can change the position of the foot, the back foot, to allow your toes to match the knee, because our hips are differently built. So some people have a very wide knee rotation. So then your toes might be looking out to the sides, and your back hip is externally rotated, and your pelvis will still be able to match the short end of the mat. But not everybody has that, and that's not a goal, by the way. It's just that maybe your body will do that. Keep sending your tailbone back and keep using your back muscles here. It's like your tailbone and you're pushing it up. Instead of engaging your feet, try to relax them, including your toes. Say what again? Am I not lifting my toes? Are you sure, Melissa? Yes, girls or guys. Yes, my yogis, don't let your toes grip, and don't let your front knee flare. So maybe by now you start feeling that nice extension through the right hip. You feel the quad working on your right leg, and the nice extension through the left side, the hamstring. Less weight on your hands. We'll take one more breath here, full deep breath. And when you inhale, pivot the back foot, release the knee on the floor, bring your other knee down, find your tabletop position. And as you exhale, remember, we tilt the pelvis up, pick up the knees, and go back. And now notice the way your body goes onto tabletop. Maybe you feel like your right leg feels longer now. Maybe you feel a little more of extension. on that hamstring compared to the other side. Maybe you feel more release and you're able to relax through your tummy and feel that nice demand on your back. We're not pinching the back, but we are certainly engaging those muscles. We want to strengthen our backs. Okay, so we'll take one more breath here, full deep breath. And when you're ready, inhale, bring your knees down onto the floor. Uncurl the toes. Again, when you're ready, bring your left foot in between the hands. It's going to feel different than the other side for sure. So watch for those fingertips. You want to make sure that you're not putting all the weight there. And when you're ready, send your tailbone back. So rather than going on to a cow stretch, we're going to do our very best to keep shifting the pelvis. Your knee might start trying to go out to the side, and we're not going to let that happen. So feel how the head of the femur and the neck of your femur are going to rotate into itself. Don't let keep sending your tailbone back. Do not let it pinch either, you guys. So you're going to start finding that place for you that works. And the more we do this, the more we're going to allow the body to find its natural position where you can relax and engage at the same time. Boy, I talk so much. Sorry, but today is going to be one of those classes. Curl the back toes under. And when you are ready, be mindful, pick up the knee, right knee, bring your foot a little closer, and then rest your heel on the floor. Watch for the front knee, keep your knee pointing straight forward, and then when you are ready, send your tailbone back. We're going to work again onto keeping our pelvis facing forward. Make sure it's not pinching. The back of the head is an extension of the spine, and this is to protect your neck. The knee is as bent as you need it to be. Relax your toes, relax your feet, and notice how your quad engages more rather than your glute. Try to relax your back. Try to engage that left quad instead. Don't let your toes grip. Keep sending your tailbone up, however. Back toes are also relaxed. Feel the full foot sole on the ground. Try to put some weight on the outer edge of the foot. Relax the back leg. And still pressing the heel gently down, but trying to keep the quad relaxed. We'll take one more breath here, full deep breath. And when you're ready and with control, on your next inhalation, pivot the back foot, bring the knee down, plant your palms, and release the knee on the floor. Awesome. We're going back onto downward facing dog. Let's see how we do. Remember, go onto anterior pelvic tilt, curl the toes under, pick up, and push back. Notice how that feels. We're thinking about pressing the thighs with our tummy, and think about the arch of your lower back, caving into your thighs, pushing your thighs away. You think about pressing your heels on the floor, but without worrying about the thighs, whether they are fully extended or not. See if you can relax your glutes here. Feel the stretch. And notice how that feels on your back. It should feel really good on your lower back right now. We'll take 2 more breaths here, full deep breaths. When you are ready, bring your knees onto the floor. I'm going to take the blanket out of the way. And walk your body forward, lower, and bring your hands under the forehead, big toes touching, heels out. Observe. Take 2 more breaths, full deep breaths. When you're ready, bring your arms forward, extend your arms, and bring your legs wide apart. Maybe mat width apart, maybe more. We're going to work with the wooden soldier. So when you are ready, walk your hands in towards the body, inch by inch, until you feel that the mat on the lower back is enough. So some of you will go a little higher, but just pay attention what is the curvature that your spine likes, and we're going to stay there once you find it. Once there, maybe look forward, maybe look up. Think about drawing your blades together and pull them gently down, just gently. Also think about moving the eyes of the elbows to face forward so you feel your armpits hollowing up. Engage evenly, right arm, left arm. Feel the risings and fallings as your belly expands against the floor and your back moves up and down. When you empty, feel your hips sinking onto the floor. We'll take 2 more breaths. And when you are done with your second breath, just like you went up, you go down inch by inch. Move your hands to the front. Slowly, forehead down. Walk your feet closer together, big toes touching, heels out. We'll take 1 more breath here, full deep breath. And with control, you're gonna keep your feet this time closer together. Press the top of the feet on the floor, pick up the knees, and elbows are bent. Walk them in towards the body for your Sphinx pose. This time we're gonna engage the neck or release the neck. Once you find your Sphinx pose, pick up the knees and press the back of the legs towards the ceiling. Bring your palms to face and close your fingers. Thumbs are pointing up towards the sky for Merudanda Mudra. Keep engaging your blades, so pull them together and down. So the first thing is we put them in the body by pressing the legs up, your hamstrings. You walk your elbows forward if the back bend is too deep. Do not bring your elbows towards the rib cage either. So either elbows are below the shoulders or in front if you need to go lower. But our main focus here will be with the hamstrings. See if you can relax your glutes and continue to extend the hamstrings and continue to press your legs up. If that bothers your lower back, press your pubic bone down onto the floor and then try to relax your glutes. Once you find the position of the pelvis, that helps your lower back to not pinch. Try to keep relaxing your buttocks. Notice how that works. Feel the nice extension of the hamstrings. Maybe some of you are shaking a little bit. We'll take 1 more breath here, full deep breath. And when you are ready, release your knees on the floor, bend your knees, tuck your chin onto your chest, and move your head side to side. Those of you who like to go onto V shape, let your feet go to the sides. Keep your knees where they are. And feel the nice extension through the back of the neck. And when you are ready, come back to center. Gaze forward, one hand on top of the other, elbows out to the sides, forehead down. Bring your feet together, release them down, big toes touch, heels out. Depending on your neck, it might feel good for you to look to your right, so you may do that. If that's good, you can bring your hands by your hips, palms facing up. Let your shoulders round towards the floor. Breathe. Take one more breath, full deep breath. And when you're ready, bring your right knee out to the right. If you want, you can bring your right hand under the thigh to ground that shoulder. You could also place your left hand under your thigh to feel more grounded. You don't have to. It just sometimes having that extra weight, it feels nice, especially if you suffer from anxiety. It will give you a very grounding, very relaxing sensation. Make sure that your neck is okay here. And do not worry if your hip is lifted, just let it be. Eventually, just the extension of that hip flexor will happen. We just let gravity take over. Breathe deeply. When you are ready, release your hands, circle them towards the top of the mat, place them under the forehead. Extend your right leg, place your feet together, heels out, take a few moments. And notice if you feel that right leg maybe feels a little bit longer, maybe the crease of the leg feels that you have erased it, and you feel that hip closer to the floor. And we're going to try to work with the left leg in the same way. Let's see first what the neck says when you turn your head to the left. If that works for you, we can stay here. Some of you might place props or keep your forehead down. Otherwise, you may bring your temple on the floor, maybe your hands by your sides, palms up. And we just take a few moments here rounding the upper back. Just notice how the engagement, that release of your thoracic spine reflects on the lumbar spine. Some of you will get that stretch right into your lower back. Breathing deeply into the low back. If it feels okay here on your next inhalation, we're going to bring that left knee out to the left, and you can keep your hand under your leg if you want. If you did on one side,
See if you want to do it on the other side. And same thing, maybe you bring that right leg under the thigh or under the crease of the leg if that too much weight on the hand doesn't feel right. Relax your jaw, your face, and breathe deeply. Scan your body, make sure that there is no tension on your legs, your glutes, your hips. Your whole back is relaxed. Make sure this position is not torquing your neck. On your next inhalation, you're gonna release your hands, circle them under the forehead, and extend your leg. Bring your big toes to touch, heels out. Observe your breath. Notice how your hips feel on the ground. If perhaps you feel really close to the floor at the hip region, maybe the creases of the legs are grounded. We'll take one more breath here, full deep breath. And when ready, gonna bring your forehead to the floor, hands under the shoulders, and as you inhale, lift your chest, lift your head, gazes forward. And as you exhale, look down, push your hands onto the floor, come up on the tabletop position. You can bring your blanket under the knees if you need to, or you can have blankets under the feet, under the ankles. Sit back on your heels or on your prop if you want to put the prop. Wiggle your body, keep your knees close together. Now, just like we have been doing, we are going to allow the pelvis to tilt. So send your pelvis back so that your lower back is neutral. And then from here, start hinging forward. Try to keep the connection of your glutes to your heels or to your prop. And then when it feels safe, start rounding your body forward. You can also have extra props in front of you to ground your forehead. So it can be a blanket, it can be a bolster. You can bring it and hug it and bring your forehead down. Just make sure that feels good. Now, after this, bring your hands under the shoulders, bring yourself up. So some of us will try something. So you're gonna bring your hands to the creases of the legs to get your tummy out of the way. So you're gonna lift it up and send your pelvis back and kind of like smooth that belly out to the sides. Hinge forward and then forehead down. You can stack your fist under the forehead, your hands. Some of you hold onto the heels. You can wiggle your body side to side and then rest down. Relax your hands. If there is no contact with the heels, place a prop so that you are grounded from the tailbone or from the seat bones to the forehead. Breathe. This will give you a nice release and stretch across the hips, across the back. We worked the back a lot today. So this is going to help you with that release of those muscles. As you tuck your chin onto your chest, swallow 3 times. This is to stimulate your thyroid, your throat chakra, and it helps. According to my teacher Friedel, this is a nice way to help with tonsillitis. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Bring your hands under the shoulders as you inhale and exhale slowly, mindfully. Use your hands to come up. Sit back on your props or on your heels. Try to find that neutrality of your pelvis, so send your tailbone back, find your arch on the lower back, keep the rib cage in, relax your shoulders over the hips, hands on your thighs, close your eyes, slightly tuck your chin. Observe. Notice all that beautiful energy flowing through your spine, all that circulation, all that prana along the back body. And we are going to equalize our backs, of course, with another downward facing dog. Last one. Let's see how it feels for this last dog after all that work we have done on our back. So you can put your blanket aside, keep it handy. Walk yourself towards your tabletop position. Let us do some cat-cows just to create keep that circulation along the spine. Inhale, tailbone up. Drop your belly and look forward or up. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, round your back, and let your head then go. By the way, for this one, keep your feet relaxed. Tailbone up, drop your belly, and look forward or up. Tuck the tailbone, and then round your back, and let your head then go. Let's do one more. Tailbone up and look up. Tailbone in and look down. Inhale, come back to neutral. And from here, send your tailbone up. Curl the toes under. And when you are ready, lift and push back. Remember, tailbone pushes up and the lower back arch pushes the thighs back. Hands are down and forward. Relax your feet. Don't let your knees collapse at the center. So the one engagement that you want to do is to keep your knees in line with the toes. Don't let them move in. Other than that, just try to relax the front of the legs. We're going to get that nice extension through the hamstrings. Back body is engaged. Outer sides of the body are engaged. Inner line of your arms and your legs are engaged. But your frontal body is relaxed. Your tummy is relaxed. Your chest is relaxed, so you're expanding. Your quads are relaxed. Your toes are relaxed. We'll take one more breath. Move your head yes and no. And as you take your next inhalation, be mindful. Bring yourself back to your knees. And exhale, uncurl the toes and sit back. Relax your shoulders back and down. Relax your wrist and shake the tension. You can take your blanket to tilt your pelvis. You can also use your bolster or your pillow. So we're going to go on to Dandasana. So Dandasana is my favorite pose. So you are going to sit at the edge of your prop and then walk your body forward until you feel your sit bones resting on the floor. For now, relax your feet for now.
and try to find balance on left and right, and try to create neutrality of the pelvis. The blanket is there because many of us, without it, remember we're talking about the relationship between the hamstrings and the pelvis. So when we extend the hamstrings like this and we try to sit, chances are that the hamstrings are going to start pulling the pelvis in, tucking the tailbone, putting all that strain on the lower back. So the blanket will help us to get that tension off our backs. And no matter how advanced of a yogi you are, many of us will always need that extra support because our hamstrings will never be long again. And it doesn't matter because remember that flexibility doesn't mean that you are healthy or you are strong. We just want a good relationship between your flexion and extension. And so yoga can help us to find that balance, no matter how your body is built. That's why alignment is so important and at the same time so irrelevant. So we will have our hips in balance. Look at your feet, notice what they do. Maybe your toes are flaring. So you're gonna try to walk your feet away and try to keep your toes more or less facing forward. Your knees are also, your kneecaps are pointing up. And just like you did in downward facing dog, think about sending your tailbone back and the lower back arch pushing your belly towards your thighs. Imagine like if you bring your arms up, suddenly you are in a downward facing dog, you guys. But we're just gonna do it without the strain of the wrist. Notice how your hip flexors feel here. Relax your shoulders back and down. Close your eyes, observe your breath for a few moments. You can rest your hands in Usha's Mudra, interlace your fingers, and breathe. Even with your legs relaxed, you might start noticing some engagement going on. And all we want for this pose is to forget about the full extension of the hamstrings. We want, even if you need to bend your knees a little more, you can place a blanket under the knees. And so that extra space will allow you to do the pelvic tilt you need to keep your back free from pain and strain. So do not hesitate in placing something, and then relax. We're trying to relax the hip muscles, the leg muscles, and then suddenly you might notice they have a mind of their own. There will be some pulls and stretches, even though you're not trying to. Make sure they're not hurting. Just observe what's going on here in this position. And try to keep your breath flowing. Keep your tummy relaxed. And we're going to take 2 more breaths. And open your eyes, relax your hands, shake the tension off, move side to side. We're going to do 1 more asana before we do our pranayama. So bend your knees and bring them in towards your chest. And try to have your knees at the same distance as your hips. So about fist distance apart. 2 fists is okay still. Same with your toes. Now when you are ready, bring your hands under your thighs. And so you can hold onto your wrist or you may hold onto your elbows depending what works for you. So by this point, you notice that your upper back is rounded. That's okay. We're going to forget a little bit about the upper back right now. And you want to send your tailbone back. And once again, imagine that the lower back arch, it's pushing your tummy against the thighs. Hold onto the hands. Watch for the knees, don't let them flare. And send your lower back forward. And breathe against the thighs. And now from here, if it works for you with the clasp on your hands, If that's too much, you can clasp onto the inner thighs, but don't let your knees flare. So you're gonna maybe start creating more resistance on your thighs, inner thighs, outer thighs, if that's the case. Feet are relaxed, belly is pressing forward, shoulder blades might be together, and pull them down, and breathe. We keep neutrality of the back and the pelvis. We massage the internal organs and the lymph nodes of the belly. You can switch hands if you need to. If you are interlacing your fingers, you can interlace the other way. Keep sending your tailbone up. One more breath, full deep breath. And with control, release your hands. Lean back, hands behind you. Extend your legs, relax them. Send your tailbone, your collarbone up. Draw your blades together and down, and maybe gaze up. Equal weight on your hands, and some of you might bring your head a little bit up, farther back, but don't let it pinch the neck. Make sure you are breathing. We'll take one more breath, full deep breath. And tuck your chin. Come back to an upright, shoulders back and down. Awesome. Sukhasana time. So you're gonna sit with the same alignment of your pelvis, and you might notice after all that work, your Sukhasana feels a little more natural. Sending your tailbone back might feel something a little bit easier to do after all that beautiful work you did on, beautiful word, on your back. Shoulders away from the ears, relax your jaw, close your eyes, and breathe. We're gonna return to our mudra, Gyan mudra. Keep your hands down. So we make it Chinmaya mudra without curling the fingers in, just hands down. This is a grounding mudra. We had so much energy on our heads with all of those downward facing dogs. So we're just going to balance that energy, allowing ourselves to just bring that pranic energy to the very base of the body, the feet, the legs, the base of the spine, and all the way up to the crown of the head. Let all the air go with every exhalation. Don't let anything behind. Continue to breathe mindfully. And think about the body connecting to the ground. Every edge that is touching the floor, gently press it down. Just like you did throughout the practice today, you want to send your tailbone gently up. You want to keep your rib cage over the pelvis and your shoulders over the rib cage, rather than having your rib cage forward and then shoulders over hips. So trying to find your center of gravity. Crown of the head pulls up. We're going to take one more breath here, full deep breath. Release your mudra, wiggle your fingers, palms face up. We're going to take our time to find our way onto our backs. And so when you are ready, you can use your blanket once again under your head if you were using one. Find your way onto your Shavasana. That's not there. Right. Bring your hands on the back of the neck, lift the head, and pull your head back. Just comfortably, remember, just a little bit of attraction. And when you're ready, gonna lift the hips and try to push your tailbone away from the crown of the head. Pull it away. And so that will create some extension from your back or on your back. And now from here, release onto the floor, release your tailbone onto the floor, and bring your legs down. Press your heels away from you, extend your hamstrings, maybe press them both onto the floor, and then release your feet. Now draw your shoulder blades together and down, and release your upper body onto the floor. You can wiggle your body just so that your skin finds its way down. Hands by your sides, palms up. Maybe also move your arms away from the shoulders. Relax your hands and fingers. Throw a smile on your face to send signals to the brain that all is well. Your brain usually catches up with whatever the body is communicating to it. So let us start with a tiny smile that maybe starts growing before you know it. Rising and falling here. Feel the weight of your body. Find that restful. This Shavasana needs to be restful, so don't let tension creep in, not just on your body, but also on your mind. If you find a thought that is keeping you from breathing deeply, observe it for a little bit and do your very best to turn the awareness back to your breath. Don't fight the thought. Let it be. But do get back to your breath whenever you can. If you need more Shavasana time, you can always pause the video and stay here for as long as you need. Maybe resume later to close our practice together. Otherwise, on your next inhalation, send your breath and awareness down to your feet. Wiggle your toes. Move your feet side to side. Wiggle your fingers. Stretch your arms overhead. Extend your legs. Squeeze every muscle. Tight, tight, tight. Prune face. Exhale, release. We'll do it again. Flex or point and squeeze. Tight, tight, tight. Exhale, release. Last one, make it count. Stretch and tense and squeeze. And exhale, release. And when you're ready, bend your knees, bring your foot soles on the floor, and move onto your favorite side. Take a few moments here. Relax your jaw, your face. Remember that smile. Use your top hand to slowly help yourself up on your next exhalation. And once on your seated position, you can use your props again to sit up in a neutral position, Sukhasana, or on your heels. Bring your hands together at the center of the heart in Namaste. Relax your jaw, relax your face. And once again, we're going to try to tilt the pelvis, so connect, getting that tailbone back, getting the rib cage back, shoulders over the hips. Relax your jaw and your face. Do not let your back pinch. So everybody has different needs. Remember that you adjusted so that you can find that neutrality of the lumbar spine without getting too into that lordosis shape. We're gonna seal our practice with the sound and vibration of Om. We'll take a breath together. Inhale, deeply expand. Exhale. Inhale to Om. Relax your jaw, your face. Inhale to the top of your lungs, expand. Side out. Again, inhale. Side out. Last one, inhale. Let all tension out. Awesome. Tuck your chin onto your chest, blink your eyes open, bring your gaze forward, and build up extra good vibes and shower yourself with them all around you. Shake off all tensions and stresses that you don't need anymore. Thank you so much, yogis, yoginis. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.